When the original King Kong came out in 1933, it revolutionized filmmaking. Despite the American economy being at one of its lowest points in history, the film about the giant ape from a lost native land being cast into the concrete jungle was just too astonishing to pass up, and it smashed at the box office. Since then, the Eighth Wonder has remained a prominent figure in popular culture and has always managed to stay at the forefront of what technological filmmaking of the time could accomplish. However, while I do have a lot of love and admiration for that 1933 film, I believe the best adaptation of this classically tragic tale is the 2005 epic directed by Peter Jackson. But before the trolls start hammering away at their keyboards, this is not a case for why
the '05 King Kong is the best and all the other ones just suck.
This is just an expression of love for a film that has been very influential in my life, both as a filmmaker and as someone who just loves to believe in adventure. This is why I love Peter Jackson's King Kong. No matter what version of King Kong is your favorite, I think it's pretty universally agreed that Naomi Watts' portrayal of Anne Darrow is the most dynamic depiction of this character. Her performance as a down-on-her-luck yet optimistic struggling actress in New York at the bottom of the Great Depression is one that garners sympathy but also admiration. From the first time we meet Anne, we see that she is a fighter, and she fights the most for the things and the people that she loves. Struck by hard times, she finds herself in a fateful meeting with none other than infamous filmmaker Carl Denham, whose charm is only outmatched by his deception. Still, Anne, despite her skepticism, jumps at the opportunity to seek adventure, not for the promise of fame or the financial benefit, but because she believes that there is a reason that she was brought here, now, in this diner across from a ticket to her destiny. Anne Darrow is willing to see what beauty may lie in the uncertainty. And when she does come face to face with the beast, she comes to realize that beauty can lie in the most improbable of places. In the original movie, Anne is just terrified of Kong, which is part of what makes that 33 film great. It's the story of a misunderstood creature being tossed into a world that he doesn't understand and that doesn't understand him. But in this movie, Anne understands Kong. She sees the beauty in what has only ever been looked at as a beast. Most people who criticize this movie are quick to point to the ice skating scene as extraneous and dispensable, and I could not disagree more. The story of King Kong is one of civilization versus nature, and how the two cannot exist without the former destroying the latter. But in that scene, we see a cohesion of worlds. We see that there is a reality in which mankind and beasts can exist harmoniously. But unfortunately, part of what makes Anne's character so admirable is that her abundance of empathy is not conventional, and we live in a world dominated by Carl Denhams. Another generally accepted truth is that this movie contains the best depiction of Skull Island, the native savage land filled with creatures, crawlers, and the contents of nightmares. Peter Jackson's vision for his iteration of Skull Island was to keep the spirit alive from the 33 feature, but amplify its materialization with the graphic capabilities of the modern age. Or, in his own words, the same Skull Island, but with better cameras. What we receive as a result is a fully fleshed out world that feels like it's going to leap right off of the screen and surround you, maybe even swallow you whole inside of its lush jungles and lethal inhabitants. The island is its own character, and it proves to be pretty antagonistic to our adventurers. That, coupled with a bombastic score from James Horner, who takes many cues from the original film while also breathing new life into the mix. And I also love how the dialogue is written in this movie. It doesn't feel 100% realistic. It has a melodramatic and theatrical flair to it.
Why doesn't he turn back?
There's a part of him that wants to, Jimmy. A part deep inside himself that sounds a warning, but there's another part that needs to know. To defeat the thing which makes him afraid.
All elements that, when combined, make for this movie feeling like a grand escapade, a larger-than-life legend made true, consumable for an audience that is not accustomed to a world of such magic. And all of that leads to the one who rules it all. The inspiration for King Kong was founded in the discovery of the Komodo dragon, a large beast that thrived in its natural environment, but upon being brought into captivity, died very quickly. One of the reasons that audiences in the 30s fell in love with Kong was that he was a sympathetic character. One of the amazing achievements from Willis H. O'Brien with his pioneering stop animation work. He wanted Kong to feel like a living, breathing conscience, not just a man in a suit. And as the years went on, Hollywood just flat out forgot about that. But for this movie, Kong was brought to life with the marriage of CGI and motion caption performance from a subsequent pioneer of filmmaking, Andy Serkis. Serkis provided both the movements and facial expressions for Kong and acted out all of his scenes alongside Watts and the rest of the cast for an authentic and comprehensive performance. What this allowed for was Kong to not just be a spectacle for the big screen or a showcase in filmmaking actualization. Serkis was able to give Kong a soul. Every look, every roar, every cry, every breath is that of a living, breathing conscience. This film is, in its realization, the most complete performance any iteration has given to the king of American cinema. And when you watch this movie, you see not what Carl sees, not what New York sees. You see what Anne sees. You see the beauty within the beast. And when Kong finally reaches his faithful meeting on top of the Empire State Building, you see that sometimes beauty can take just as much as it can give, and it can give us everything.
From the moment that I saw King Kong, I wanted to become a filmmaker. I mean, it was as simple as that. If I hadn't happened to watch this particular movie on television as a 9-year-old, I probably today would be an architect or a plumber. I wouldn't be doing the job that I'm doing. So I owe King Kong a huge amount.
Peter Jackson wanted to make this movie since he was 9 years old. He paid so much attention to the minor details and, most importantly, the core themes and messages of the movie, making sure to respect and pay homage to the original wherever he could. In doing so, I believe that he not only honors the original completely, but supersedes the vision of what that 30s film was trying to convey. I think Peter Jackson actually says the message better because he took it to heart and let it marinate there for decades. He showed us what King Kong means to him, and his love for this character and story was so powerful that it reincarnated into something greater than it was before. And while we should absolutely not forget the original and what it did for cinema, it's okay to say, and then a great artist came along, saw something that was already great, and then made it better. I saw Peter Jackson's King Kong in theaters when I was 7 years old. At that point, I was already acting in commercials, pursuing what I thought could be a fun ticket to adventure. But seeing King Kong in theaters sparked something within me, and recreation became vocation. I liked acting, but now I wanted to write the words. I wanted to guide the lens. I wanted to tell stories that invoked an emotional response in people the way that King Kong inflamed something in my soul. King Kong represents the uncertainty that lies all throughout the world and throughout our lives. What is our purpose in this life? What are we capable of achieving? What will we try and fail? How will that lead us to our final meeting with fate? And perhaps most importantly, where will we find beauty when we least expect it? These are the questions I started asking when I was 7, and I haven't discovered every answer just quite yet. But as long as there is still another day to be had, another adventure to be set, another distance off in the horizon that I have not yet reached, then I will continue in my search of the uncertainty. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I love Peter Jackson's King Kong. And also the video game. The video game was a lot of fun.